Adult-only cruises are dangerous, not because they are bad, but because people think those two words explain everything. They don't. One adult cruise might be Viking, quiet, calm, and full of people who actually read the daily planner. Another might be Virgin, louder, cheekier, and more social. And another might involve pineapples, private parties, and a booking page you really should have read twice. So this is not a boring pros and cons video. We're breaking this into 3 parts, and the real difference between no kids cruising, adults-only cruising, and the cruises people whisper about in Facebook groups. Because if you book the wrong one, you might find out very quickly that adult-only did not mean what you thought it meant. Part 1. The adult cruises. People accidentally compare wrong. Number 1. Virgin is not Viking, and Viking is definitely not Bliss. This is where people get adult cruises completely mixed up. They hear the words, adult-only cruise, and start throwing every kind of grown-up cruise into the same basket. Virgin Voyages, Viking, Saga, P&O adult-only sailings, Bliss Cruise, Desire Cruises, Singles Cruises, Nude Cruises, and Party Cruises all get talked about as if they are basically the same thing. They are not. That would be like comparing a quiet wine bar, a library, a nightclub, a singles mixer, and a hotel room with the curtains already closed. Yes, they are all for adults. No, they are not the same night out. Virgin Voyages is adults only, and it can feel modern, cheeky, social, and less traditional than many cruise lines. Viking is also adults only, but it is usually calmer, more destination-focused, and not built around late-night party energy. Saga is aimed more at older adult travelers. P&O has had adult-only ships like Arcadia and Aurora, although you still need to check the exact sailing. Oceania has also moved toward adults only for new bookings from 2026. Then, you have names like Bliss Cruise and Desire Cruises, which are in a completely different adult-themed category. So the word adult is doing a lot of work here. One cruise might mean no kids, good food, quiet lounges, and a lecture about ancient ruins. Another might mean music, theme nights, flirting, private groups, and a daily planner you would not want to leave open on the kitchen bench. That is why this video matters. Because if you book the wrong kind of adult cruise, you may not just be disappointed. You may be standing there on night 1 thinking, right, this is not what I pictured. Number 2. A singles cruise is not automatically a hookup cruise. A singles cruise sounds like it should be easy to understand. Single people. On a cruise. Done. But even that can mean very different things. Some singles cruises are aimed at mature solo travelers who simply want company, conversation, group dinners, shore excursions, dancing, and people to enjoy the cruise with. And honestly, that can be a lovely thing. Because walking into a dining room alone for the first time can feel a bit awkward, especially when every other table looks like they arrived as a couple, a family, or a fully organized committee. A singles cruise can make that easier. It can give people a group to meet, a table to join, and a reason to go to an event without feeling like they are standing there holding a drink and pretending to read the wall. But not every singles cruise has the same mood. Some are more social and friendly, some are more romantic, some are aimed at older singles, some are aimed at younger singles, some are relaxed, and some have a much stronger nightlife and flirting side. That is why you cannot just see the word singles and assume you know what kind of cruise it is. One singles cruise might feel like a friendly social club at sea. Another might feel more like everyone packed their best outfit and suddenly remembered they were single. Neither is wrong. But they are very different holidays. So before booking, check who the cruise is actually aimed at. Because if you want friendship and relaxed company, you do not want to accidentally book the version where everyone is treating sail away like the first episode of a dating show. Number 3. A nude cruise is not the same as a lifestyle cruise. This is another one people mix up very quickly. They hear nude cruise and suddenly assume it must mean the same thing as a lifestyle cruise. It does not. A nude cruise is usually more about naturism, body freedom, sunbathing, swimming, and being comfortable without clothes in the areas where it is allowed. For some people, that sounds terrifying. For others, it sounds like the most relaxed packing list in history. But the point is, a nude cruise is not automatically a wild adult party. It may actually be much more normal than people imagine, just with fewer tan lines and a much bigger need to remember where you left your towel. A lifestyle cruise is different. That is usually more connected to couples, open relationships, private parties, adult-themed events, and people who are there for a very different reason. So if someone says nude cruise, do not instantly assume it means lifestyle cruise. And if someone says lifestyle cruise, do not assume it is just people politely sunbathing with a book and a hat. Different cruise, different rules, different expectations, and probably a very different packing list. That is why the wording matters so much, because adult cruise can mean no kids. It can mean singles, it can mean nude, it can mean lifestyle, or it can mean a normal cruise where the most shocking thing on board is still the price of the photos. Number 4. A group on board is not the same as the whole ship being chartered. This one is important because it can completely change the cruise. Sometimes an adult group is only part of the sailing. Other times, the whole ship has been chartered. And those are two very different things. If it is a group on board, that means a normal cruise is still happening, but a certain group has booked cabins or organized their own events. You might barely notice them. Or you might notice them a lot, depending on the group. But the ship is still also carrying regular passengers. A full ship charter is different. That means the whole sailing has been taken over for that theme, group, or event. The entertainment, dress code, activities, parties, and atmosphere can all be built around that one audience. That is when the cruise can feel completely different from a normal sailing. And this is where people need to be careful. You might think you are booking a normal cruise and then discover there is a large group on board with its own energy. Or, you might be looking for a very specific adult-themed sailing and accidentally book a normal adult-only ship where the biggest scandal is someone saving 6 loungers before breakfast. So always check, search the ship and sailing date. Look for charter information. Read recent reviews. Check cruise forums. Because the words on the booking page do not always tell the full story, and if the whole ship has been taken over by a group, you really want to know that before you are standing there at Sailway thinking, why is everyone dressed for a theme night I did not get told about? So, now we know why adult-only cruises get mixed up so easily. Hit the like button if you'd try one, and be honest. Would you choose the calm no-kids version, or would curiosity get the better of you? Because next, we're talking about what actually changes when there are no kids on board. And after that, yes, we're getting to the pineapple part. Part 2. When adult-only really just means no kids on board. Number 5. The whole ship moves differently when there are no kids on board. This is the first thing people do not always expect. When there are no children on board, the ship does not just sound different, it moves differently. Think about a normal family cruise for a second. You step into a lift, and one child has already pressed every single button like they are trying to win a prize. You walk past the pool, and someone's child runs past, dripping wet, goggles on, towel flying, while a parent is following behind with shoes, sunscreen, and the look of someone who has already given up. You go down the corridor, and there are kids racing ahead, parents calling them back, prams being squeezed around corners, and families trying to move as one big traveling suitcase. And that is not a criticism. Families are allowed to enjoy cruises too, but it does change the feel of the ship. On an adult-only cruise, you often notice there is less of that constant stop-start movement. The lifts can feel calmer, the corridors can feel easier, the pool deck can feel less like a splash zone. The lounges can feel more like places people actually sit and relax instead of places families pass through on the way to the next activity. It does not mean the ship is silent. Adults can still be loud, especially after a few cocktails when someone suddenly believes they are the main act at Sailaway, but it is a different kind of busy. Less school holiday chaos, more grown-up holiday energy. And that is the part people either love straight away or they realize they actually miss the family buzz more than they thought. Number 6. The food areas feel calmer when the ship is not built around families. On an adult-only cruise, the food areas can feel very different, and I do not just mean dinner. I mean breakfast, the buffet, the coffee areas, the pizza place, the casual snack spots, the main dining room, and those little food places people only discover on day 4 and then act like they personally uncovered a cruise secret. On a family cruise, food areas often have a different kind of pressure. Parents are trying to get breakfast before an excursion. Kids are trying to carry plates that are too big for them. Someone wants pancakes. Someone suddenly hates pancakes. Someone is crying because the cereal is wrong, even though nobody really knows how cereal can be wrong. And again, that is family life. But when children are not on board, The food areas can feel less frantic. Breakfast can feel calmer. Coffee can feel like coffee, not a rescue mission. Lunch can feel less like everyone has arrived at the same time with 5 different opinions. And dinner can feel more like a proper night out because fewer tables are racing against bedtime, overtired kids, or someone needing to leave before the dessert menu even appears. It does not mean every meal is quiet. There will still be loud tables. There will still be someone hovering near the buffet like the roast potatoes are about to disappear forever. But the overall pace can feel easier. And for a lot of people, that is one of the biggest pleasures of a no-kids cruise. You are not just eating. You are actually relaxing while you eat. Number 7. The entertainment changes when the cruise line knows everyone in the room is an adult. Entertainment is where adult-only cruising can really start to feel different. Because when the cruise line knows everyone in the room is an adult, it does not have to keep smoothing every edge. The comedy can be sharper. The late-night shows can go further. The music can run later. The trivia can get cheekier. And even bingo can feel different because cruise bingo is already dramatic enough without needing to make it suitable for every age group. Honestly, some people play bingo on a cruise like there is a house, a car, and their entire reputation on the line. You can see them leaning over those cards, waiting for one number, looking like they have never wanted anything more in their life. On a family cruise, entertainment has to stretch across a much wider audience. Children, teenagers, parents, older passengers, couples, groups, and people who just wandered in because they heard music and wanted somewhere to sit. But on an adult-only ship, the cruise line can aim more of the humor, shows, music, games, bars, and late-night events at adults. That does not mean every night is wild. It does not mean the whole ship turns into a nightclub, but it can feel less watered down. A comedian can take the joke a little further. A show can feel more grown up. A late-night event can have a bit more bite, and the audience usually understands what kind of room they are sitting in. That is why some people love adult-only cruising. It is not just about removing kids. It is about the ship not having to pretend every activity needs to work for every age at the same time. So that is the normal adult-only side, but now we're getting into the side of adult cruising that people whisper about, joke about, and pretend they only clicked on because they were just curious. And yes, we are talking about the pineapple situation. Part 3. The part everyone pretends they're not curious about. Number 8. The pineapple thing is real, but it has also become the cruise world's most confusing joke. Now we have to talk about the pineapple, because somehow, this poor tropical fruit has ended up with more cruise drama than a late tender boat. And yes, let's not pretend. An upside-down pineapple can mean something in cruise culture. It is widely linked with the lifestyle scene, where adults are open to meeting other like-minded adults. So if you're on a cruise and you see an upside-down pineapple on a cabin door, shirt, cup, bag, magnet, or even a very suspicious-looking beach towel, you can understand why people look twice. It is not exactly the same as wearing a shirt with dolphins on it. Nobody sees a dolphin and thinks, well, Deck 8 is having an interesting night. But the pineapple has become so famous now that it is also a complete mess. Some people know exactly what it means. Some people use it as a joke. Some people prank their friends with pineapple magnets and then run away to dinner like cowards. And some people genuinely just like pineapples. They bought the shirt because it looked tropical, packed the pineapple beach bag because it matched their sandals, and now half the corridor is walking past thinking they are running a secret club from cabin 8274. That is what makes it funny. The symbol can mean something. But it has also been joked about so much that you cannot assume every pineapple is a real signal. On a family-friendly cruise, it can cause even more confusion because children, teenagers, and passengers who have no idea what it means are all walking past those doors. On an adult-only ship, people may be less shocked by the joke, but that still does not mean every cruise line allows anything on cabin doors or in public areas. Staff can still remove decorations if they cause complaints, confusion, or break the ship's rules. So yes, the pineapple thing is real, but it is also one of the most overused cruise jokes out there. Sometimes it means something. Sometimes it means nothing. And sometimes it just means someone should not be allowed to shop for tropical decor after midnight. Number 9. The real lifestyle crowd is not usually doing what the internet makes it sound like. The internet makes lifestyle cruising sound like people are roaming the halls at midnight, hunting for pineapple magnets, like they are on the world's strangest treasure hunt. But the real lifestyle crowd is usually much more organized than that. And let's actually spell it out. When people talk about the lifestyle, they are usually talking about adults, or couples who are open to meeting other adults, or couples in a more adult way. Not just making friends at trivia. Not just sharing a table at dinner. We are talking about open-minded adults, private parties, flirting, meeting like-minded people, and sometimes adult experiences between consenting adults. That is the part people whisper about. But it is not usually as random as the internet makes it sound. Real lifestyle cruisers are not normally knocking on random cabin doors because they saw a fruit sticker and felt brave after 2 cocktails. They are not walking down the corridor thinking, "Cabin 8126 has a pineapple? Let's disturb their room service." A lot of it is planned before the cruise even starts. People join private groups. They talk online. They find out who else is sailing. They set boundaries. They organize meetups. They may have theme nights, wristbands, private events, or group activities where people already understand the scene. And that is the difference. The internet makes it sound like a free-for-all, but the genuine lifestyle crowd is usually looking for people who already know what they are doing, what they are comfortable with, and what kind of sailing they booked. They are not trying to drag confused passengers into anything. Nobody wants to spend a cruise explaining to some poor couple from Deck 6 that their pineapple beach bag has accidentally turned them into the ship's most misunderstood passengers. So yes, the lifestyle scene exists. Yes, it can be very adult. Yes, on the right sailing, people may be much more open than they would be on a normal cruise. But it is usually more private, more planned, and more selective than the jokes make it sound. It is not every adult-only cruise. It is not every pineapple shirt. And it is definitely not every hot tub, although some hot tubs do seem to attract stories whether they asked for them or not. Number 10. If it is that kind of adult cruise, the clues are usually there before you book. This is where you need to be a little bit of a detective before you book. Because if a cruise is genuinely adult-themed, lifestyle-focused, clothing optional, or built around a very specific adult crowd, the clues are usually there. It may not always be screaming at you in giant letters, but it is normally not hidden so well that you accidentally stumble into it while looking for a quiet balcony cabin and a nice buffet. Look at who is selling the cruise. Is it the cruise line itself? A private organizer? Is it a group sailing with its own website, rules, theme nights, dress code wording, or private events? That tells you a lot. A normal adult-only cruise might talk about dining, bars, shows, spa time, no children on board, and grown-up entertainment. A different kind of adult sailing may talk about open-minded couples, private parties, clothing-optional areas, themed nights, full ship takeovers, or adults-only events that clearly mean more than just no kids in the pool. That is when you need to slow down and read properly. Search the exact ship and sailing date. Look for charter information. Check whether the whole ship has been taken over or whether it is just a group on board. Read recent comments and reviews if you can find them. Because the booking page might say adult, but the details tell you what kind of adult. And that matters. You do not want to book a calm, adults-only cruise expecting a wild party and then find out everyone is asleep after the theater show. And you definitely do not want to book a very adult-themed sailing thinking it is just a peaceful no-kids cruise where the biggest excitement is getting a good table at breakfast. So, before you book, look for the clues. Because the difference between the right adult cruise and the wrong adult cruise is not small. It can be the difference between saying, "This is exactly what I wanted," and standing there on night 1 thinking, "I really should have read the small print." So there you go. Adult-only cruises can be amazing, confusing, relaxing, cheeky, or not what you pictured at all. And honestly, if a pineapple is involved, maybe don't assume anything too quickly. If this helped, hit the like button and watch the video on the screen now before you choose your next cruise.